Where one door closes, another door opens. Marvel have officially kicked off the next chapter in their universe. The first film to test our intrigue is none other than Captain America Brave New World. And this will be coming to our Disney streaming platforms. So my friends, is Captain America Brave New World worth the watch? Captain America Brave New World follows Sam Wilson as he takes on the mantle of Captain America in a world that's still recovering from past conflicts. With political tensions on the rise and dangerous forces lurking in the shadows, Sam must prove himself as both a leader and a hero in this new era. Sam faces a world that doesn't fully accept him as Captain America. With old allies questioning his leadership and new threats emerging, he must battle not just physical enemies, but also the weight of expectations, political unrest, and hidden agendas that threaten global stability. To cement his role as the new Captain America, Sam must rise above the doubt and chaos, uniting fractured alliances and proving that being Captain America is about more than just wielding a shield. Whether the movie delivers a satisfying resolution depends on how well it balances action, character growth, and the weight of its themes. We're getting roughly 2 hours in length with this movie, so it's definitely a movie that requires your full attention, especially seeing as there's a lot of Easter eggs woven throughout the movie. And the reason for those Easter eggs is because Disney are attempting to bridge the past, specifically the movies surrounding the Hulk, into the present, and specifically into this new chapter of the Marvel Universe. So, if you've been missing your dose of the Marvel Universe, now good or bad, I'm not giving my verdict away yet, you'll have to wait until the end, you'll want to check this movie out because it's going to gear you up for what's to come. Now you know what you're getting yourself into, let's talk about what this movie does well. First off, Sam Wilson feels like his very own Captain America. Now, before this movie, I checked out the trailer, and honestly speaking, I was a little bit worried. I wasn't sure because you have Steve Rogers and then you have Sam Wilson. One is superhuman while the other is not. My reservation with this changing of the guard, if you will, sort of revolved mainly to do with that. But actually, I've got to eat a little bit of humble pie here because Disney have done a very good job here because they make sure that Sam's transition into Captain America is made to feel natural. He carries the shield, but he's not just copying Steve Rogers. He has his own style, he has his own purpose, and it actually feels quite satisfying through that portrayal that we get to see. From his approach to leadership to how he deals with conflicts, the film actually does a really good job at making it very clear that Sam is forging his own path. In the movie, Sam doesn't just embrace the mantle of Captain America. He does it without possessing any super soldier abilities. And I actually think it's quite interesting what they've done here because for the first time in quite a long time actually, the portrayal is emphasizing that heroism is actually defined by one's actions and not just superhuman powers. Now, I've given this a thumbs up because it set Sam apart and allowed him to stand out, whilst also being able to preserve the legacy of Captain America with Steve Rogers, giving fans a fresh but also a familiar hero. The next thing I thought the movie actually did very well with is the inclusion of Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross, bringing some big screen time presence. With Harrison Ford actually taking over the role, Ross feels more powerful and intimidating than ever. His interactions with Sam just add a lot of tension and high stakes political drama. Harrison Ford also brings that level of authority and commandment with his portrayals and makes every scene that he's in feel more important. Now let's put some things into perspective here. Because when I was doing my research, I did find it quite remarkable. Harrison Ford, at 82 years of age, has now joined the MCU as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. The intrigue I had here with my research is that whilst the conversations were going on about the movie's formation and coming together before any shooting had occurred, there were some initial debates around the reservations of Harrison's inclusion. Now, after all of that had blown over, Harrison Ford actually embraced the role, bringing a lot of positives to the movie. And actually, when it comes to the political dramas that's all integrated into this movie, I think it actually did a lot of favours for it because of Harrison Ford's inclusion. Now, I've given this a thumbs up because Harrison Ford's performance in this movie adds so much weight to the story, making Ross more compelling and an unpredictable character. Now, the next thumbs up for me with this movie has to be the arrival of Red Hulk. Fans have been waiting for Red Hulk for a very long time, and finally, he's been delivered to us. I think the transformation of Harrison Ford into the Hulk was done very well. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't too slow. The only little criticism that I would have is that I think the fight scene wasn't done for long enough, but everything else surrounding Red Hulk and Harrison Ford in terms of their journey throughout the movie and that transformation to finally unleashing Red Hulk was done very, very well. The build up to his reveal added a lot of excitement, and when it finally happens, it feels like a massive moment in history for MCU. To give you a little bit of insight and perspective on how much actually went into the transformation of Harrison Ford into Red Hulk and bringing Red Hulk to our screens, the film features over 300 visual effect shots dedicated to the climactic battle, showcasing the transformation of Thaddeus Ross into the incredible Red Hulk. The actual design of the Red Hulk actually does incorporate Harrison Ford's looks, making it a seamless and realistic portrayal. Now, I've given this a thumbs up for two reasons. One, seeing Red Hulk in action adds a huge new threat, especially with this new chapter. And number two is the fact that this is a very major moment for the MCU's history. I think it also shows a pretty positive move by them. They could have provided something that's a little bit lackluster, something that doesn't drive an intrigue, and something that doesn't show that they're dedicated to the cause. But actually, this move, being so positive, really shows the opposite and allows us to actually feel very trusting towards them in bringing us that intrigue and continuing to satisfy us with this next stage. Another element that I really enjoyed is how they've made a really good connection with the past Hulk movies into the new MCU. I really do believe that this movie did a very good job in bridging the past Hulk movies in with the new universe of Marvel that we're about to embark on. They're finally tying together loose threads from the Incredible Hulk movie in 2008. It acknowledges the past events whilst also setting up new stories. And if you haven't seen the old Hulk movies, this movie might make you want to revisit them. Something that I found really intriguing, a little bit of juicy gossip here, is that Liv Tyler and Tim Nelson returning as Betty Ross and Samuel Stern wasn't just a nostalgic choice, it was years in the making. According to the film's production team, Marvel Studios had been looking very hard to find a way to bring them back ever since the Avengers in 2012. Tim Nelson even revealed in an interview that he was supposed to come back even sooner than that, but the plans just kept shifting. Their comebacks not only honour the Incredible Hulk of 2008, but it also sets up future storylines, making their inclusion feel more than just fan service. Now, I've given this a thumbs up because it helps the MCU feel more connected, bringing back characters and storylines that have been left behind. Something else that positively stood out to me was that the movie has a very strong supporting cast that I found personally enhanced the story. Actors like Tim Nelson, Shira Haas, and Danny Ramirez add a lot of depth to the movie. We get Juan Torres as our new Falcon in training, and he also gets a lot of screen time, to be fair to him. And then, in addition to that, the interactions between Sam and Ross adds a lot of layers when it comes to the political intrigue. A key piece of behind-the-scene facts that I wanted to share with you is that David Ramirez, who plays Juan Torres as the Falcon, underwent some intense fight training, and that was all to do with making the aerial sequences feel that much more authentic. Unlike previous MCU superheroes, which are mainly using CGI, Ramirez actually worked with real Air Force consultants, refining his movements and flight dynamics, making his Falcon much more grounded and even more tactical than we've ever seen before. Now, I've given this a thumbs up because because the supporting cast weren't just there in the background. They really do help drive the story, flesh out the world, and make everything much more engaging. They really, really add to the story. Another thumbs up for this movie is that it explores what Captain America means today. The movie tackles the responsibilities of the title and what Captain America should represent in the modern world today. It doesn't just focus on the action, it raises real questions about leadership, patriotism, and what it ultimately means to stand for something. Now, I wanted to put this point in here because I really wanted to shed some light on the director of this movie, Julius Onah. The backstory to Julius is that he was a Nigerian immigrant who arrived in the US at the age of 11. What he's done with this movie is provide a very unique perspective, aiming to portray Sam Wilson as Captain America as a unifying figure who embodies empathy and shared experiences, reflecting contemporary societal dynamics. Now, I've given this a thumbs up because it gives the story more depth and meaning, making it more than just fighting bad guys. Now you know what the movie does well, let's talk about what it doesn't. First off, there is a lot going on in this movie, and not all of them work out. Let's just try and work backwards and unpick them a little bit without spoiling anything, of course. The movie's trying to juggle political drama, multiple villains, and Sam's personal journey, which on paper should really be creating a lot of excitement. But actually that's where things get a little bit cluttered. Because honestly, I don't think that they did a very good job in trying to isolate the scenarios that they were trying to bring to the table. Yes, what they did well was layer in a bunch of different intriguing aspects to the movie. But when you come away from the movie and you try to digest what you've witnessed, there is a lot going on. You've got the intrigue that's all surrounding President Thaddeus Ross, the appearance from the adamantium celestial corpse, then you have the return of Samuel Stern, and then the one we've all been waiting for is the Red Hulk. Now, with all of these factored into the movie, none of them get enough focus to really stand out properly. And actually, when you look at Time Media Outlet, they've backed up what I've said, because actually, when you look at the facts, they state that these complexities that have been drilled into the movie have actually led to critiques about the film feeling overstuffed and challenging the flow. I've given this a thumbs down, because ultimately, for us as the viewers, too many storylines make it very messy and quite hard to follow. I personally felt like when I was watching this movie, I was being pulled into multiple different directions and never actually given the time to fully invest in any one part of the story. The next thumbs down for me with this movie is that we don't actually get a strong villain. While the Red Hulk brings an enormously impactful presence to the movie, you don't actually get a truly compelling villain with clear motivations. Aside from Red Hulk, you get Sidewinder and you also get Samuel Stern, but they don't have enough depth to make them memorable or threatening enough. The critics have actually noted that villains' motivations are underdeveloped, resulting in a less than compelling conflict. I've given this a thumbs down because a great hero needs a great villain. And much like the multiple plot threats that pull us in multiple different directions, the villains didn't seem to really establish themselves. The villains didn't really seem to establish themselves as the high-stakes threat that we were hoping for. And that leads me nicely onto my last thumbs down, which is all centered around Red Hulk. Honestly speaking, I don't think they capitalized, and I believe that they underachieved with the inclusion and use of Red Hulk. Red Hulk is such a huge deal. I mean, for fans as well, it is such a huge character. And in all honesty, for me personally, and I'm sure for other fans, we were probably hoping for more screen time and more of an appearance than what was actually given. Don't get me wrong, Harrison Ford did a brilliant job portraying Thaddeus Ross, but his transformation into the Red Hulk feels like a missed opportunity. It felt like we got a really brief moment for his appearance in his climactic battle with Sam, which ultimately just left me wanting more. I'll put it in perspective for you and give you a fact that absolutely will shock you. In the latter stages of the movie, when we get that transformation complete as Thaddeus Ross into Red Hulk, then from that completed transformation into the final battle where he then turns back into Thaddeus Ross, that appearance lasts for 9 minutes. Now, I think this was pretty disappointing because the build-up all towards the final transformation completion to only get 9 minutes of screen time for a Red Hulk that we've been waiting for years and years and years seems like a bit of a letdown. Now, I've given this a thumbs down because I think that Red Hulk didn't get the screen time he deserved. We've been waiting for him for years, and based on the screen time that he did get, those 9 minutes, feels like a hugely missed opportunity and actually somewhat wasted potential. Now for the verdict. The movie does stick with you, but I think for the wrong reasons. It's the first movie in the next chapter for the MCU, but I think the main thing here is wanting to see Red Hulk, and also the intrigue to see whether or not they were going to get Sam's portrayal as Captain America right. Was it going to be organic, or was it going to be forced? I did think they delivered with the anticipation around the Red Hulk to some degree, and also when it comes to kicking off the next chapter, but I truly do feel that they could have gone further. They could have built a lot more suspense with this movie by going further with those fight scenes. With all of that build up, I really was expecting to see longer fights. Now, this is the next movie for the next stage of the MCU, but I really do think that they underachieved here based on the potential that surrounded this movie. No matter which way you look at this was supposed to be and should have been the big bang, the big let's go, but it just didn't feel like that. It felt very reserved. So, is Captain America worth your watch time? If you're a fan of Marvel, watching this movie is a given, and it's important because it's the kickoff and the reboot for the next phase of the Marvel universe. However, don't go into it expecting to be blown away. I give Captain America Brave New World a 3 out of 5 buckets, meaning it's a binge-watching 50-50. So here's the binge-watching question. If you lived in the Marvel universe, would you be a superhero or a villain? And who would you be? For me personally, I would be a superhero, and I would specifically be Iron Man. But let me know your answers down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to smash a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and follow us on social media to stay up to date with the latest content. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more. I'm Matthew. This is Binge Watcher. Thanks for binging with me.